I'll make two other points in relation to regional development. You won't grow the regions by relocating departments. We've started that. We started with the Department of Agriculture to Orange. There simply aren't enough. Look, I know there are a lot, but there simply aren't enough jobs in the bureaucracy to do that. The key to regional revitalisation, the key to ensuring populations stay in our regions, the key to ensuring that businesses have the capacity and the confidence to grow those regions, besides some incentives from time to time, is ensuring that those regions have access to services upon which their communities can rely. You will not get young people remaining in country areas if we continue to add to the list of 34 maternity units that have closed. Young people will not live in country areas thinking about having children if they don't believe they can actually have those children safely in those areas. So whether it's health services, whether it's education services, whether it's transport services, government has to understand that there is a commitment upon us to ensure that people in the regions have access to a quality of life that enables them to pursue the same dreams, the same aspirations that people in Sydney are rightfully able to have. The other issue that I want to say is that the Hunter and the Illawarra, I think, are underdone. They're underdone in terms of Sydney. I think that what we see in a planning sense from the state government is a focus on Sydney. Talk about the other two, but there is a great capacity there for that conurbation, which is a fancy word I picked up in geography in about year 9, for that conurbation to become a reality, to become a livable reality, a reality that actually drives economic growth in this state, that provides opportunity to people in this state, and something that helps move us into that next league of cities. Getting the politics out of infrastructure by establishing infrastructure in New South Wales is something that we're determined to do as well. So on idea number 7, done, tick, dusted. Our policy, first announced in June last year, which we fleshed out again 2 weeks ago, seeks to take the politics out of infrastructure from a planning and a delivery perspective. Infrastructure New South Wales would not have delivered a Rozelle Metro. Or if it had delivered a Rozelle Metro, it would have ensured that the Rozelle Metro was in fact implemented. What you won't get out of infrastructure New South Wales is the sort of political decision making that looks to the next election, looks to a marginal seat, looks to whatever the political paradigm is in making decisions, instead of looking to what the city needs, what the state needs, not just today, but into the future. So Infrastructure New South Wales will deliver a 20-year infrastructure statement. It'll be backed by a 5-year implementation plan that's attached to the state budget. So when I look at the transport pamphlet produced a couple of weeks ago, the fact is that it is largely unfunded. And that's best evidenced by the fact that the growth rail projects, North West, South West Rail, the quadruplification up to St Leonard's are costed. And when you take out the cost of the South West Rail Link, which is the only one to be built over the next 10 years, there's just $700 million being spent over 10 years on those 2 other projects, the North West Rail Link and the quadruplication. Now, the other point that you need to understand about why we're committed to Infrastructure New South Wales is that when the North West Rail Link, when the Castle Hill Link was first announced in 1998, the cost per kilometre of the project was $50 million, due to be open this year. Under the latest plan, doesn't start till 2017, doesn't open till 2024, and the cost per kilometre is $300 million. A 6-fold increase in cost, a 14-year delay in delivery is another example of the cost of playing politics with infrastructure. And it is, as I said before, I wish I could use the word, Pat, that the way politics has infected decision-making in this state has had a huge cost upon New South Wales, and we're determined to constrain the politics. We're determined to ensure we listen to experts. We're determined to ensure that we remove temptation from politicians to interfere in the process. That's why Infrastructure New South Wales will bring the best small team from the best of the public and private sectors together. Will be oversighted by a board with an independent chairman, will be headed by a coordinator general who reports to me. Because just as I believe that economic growth is essential, fixing the state's infrastructure is probably the best way to deliver that. And that's why I want to ensure that the Premier of New South Wales is heavily involved. The 8th issue is taking charge of Sydney's transport with the appointment of a transport czar. Now, the first step to fixing Sydney's congestion is, of course, to integrate the system. And that's why 2 years ago now, February, Gladys Berejiklian announced that we would set up an Olympic-style integrated transport agency again, like Infrastructure New South Wales, constrain the politics, give it an independent board, ensure that they can and would blow the whistle on us if we did the trick of the 1998 Action for Public Transport that was a plan for the 99 election, but that if it had been delivered, all those wonderful projects, we would live in a vastly different city today. We'd live in a city that we could not only move around in, we could live in a city that we'd be proud of. So, integrated transport agency, which will ensure that whoever is delivering transport in this city will simply be in charge of running the services, point A to point B, Roseville Station to Wynyard for me. And everything else will be managed by this agency, so that you avoid what occurred with the integrated ticketing system. It was due in time for the Sydney Olympics, I remember. That the decision was made by government, tick, and then each of the agencies quibbled and argued, and $100 million later, in taxpayer dollars, we have nothing to show for it except a court case, which is likely to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars more. So that's the motivation that we have. That's the motivation we have, and putting together an intelligent transport plan for Sydney. An intelligent transport plan based on our commitment to, for the first time in this state, establishing an integrated transport planning body, so that whatever the mode of transport, whether foot falcon or metro, whether bike or heavy rail, will all be considered, and the best plan announced and the best plan committed to. Now, you use the word czar. We believe that you only need czars in Labor governments because they're either incapable of or too gutless to solve the problems that are faced by this city. In my view, the czars that we've seen come and go over the 15 years have been about Labor buck passing. And in the occasional revolution, a czar has indeed been ritually dispatched in a scapegoat exercise normally run by Sussex Street. And, you know, the demolition of Paul Ford, one of the state's better public servants, over the cross-city tunnel debacle, a debacle caused by Cabinet's decision to vary the PPP model, is an example of why you should be slightly wary about czars. We have a different approach, and that is that Gladys Berejiklian will be held accountable by me and by the public for what we intend to deliver. You need to inject, not czars, you need to inject some good old-fashioned accountability into the system.